All right, I know what you're thinking right off the bat. Isn't this a whiskey channel? Well, today we are going to be talking about rum. And not just any rum, but a rum barrel that we actually selected in collaboration with other channels and came out recently. Now, within this video, I do want to talk about the rum category in general, especially for those that may not have given it a shot, and what the flavor profile is, especially from the perspective of a whiskey drinker. Now, the bottle that I am going to show you here, at least with this particular barrel, is sold out. So nothing about this video is meant to sell you on one of our barrel picks. But for those that did get this pick, I'm going to give the tasting notes here, and maybe this might inspire you to go to Old Line and buy one of the rums that they currently have available, even though our pick is sold out. Hello again, whiskey friends. And rum friends too. We're going to bring all the friends around for this video. But what we're going to get into today is Case One Rum. This is aged Caribbean rum that was double oaked. And what that means is for 7 years, this was initially aged in ex-bourbon casks. And then for 3 more years, it was aged in American single malt casks. Now, it wasn't just aged in any American single malt casks. It was aged in Old Line American single malt, and that's the brand that this Case One comes out of as well. This particular one is a pick out of 21090, and I actually see some flavor consistency between this and what we're about to go through. Now, the other stats on this bottle, first, the pick name, Rum Forest Rum. We went with a Forrest Gump theme. Executive producer Todd came up with that one, but it is 131.6 proof. So, woo, it is up there. And as mentioned, it was aged for 10 years in total between those casks. Then the mash bill on this one is 100% Dominican sugarcane and molasses. Let's pour a little of it in here. That way this can air out before we go through the tasting part of the video. Now, one thing I do like to do when in this situation is pull up the website for the brands, especially if they offer any type of shipping option. That way, if you're not seeing this bottle in your state, maybe you can still get it shipped to your door. So if you went to Old Line's website, you can navigate their spirits page. And where you're going to find these, after all their American single malts, is a section all about the Caribbean rum. What we're going through today is this Case One Rum whiskey cask finish. Now, once again, ours is a single barrel. What they're going to be offering on the site right now is going to be more of a blend of barrels. But in addition to the whiskey cask finish, there's also a Madeira and a port cask finish. So you got a bunch of options here if this video entices you to get anything. But just know you can go on their website and get it. The barrel that we are going to go through today was $45 a bottle. So very, very reasonably priced. So let's get into the tasting notes here. We'll go through the nose, the palate, into the finish, and then have some final thoughts on rum and where it even fits in whiskey drinkers' categories and has some equivalence to something that you may have had before. Cheers, everybody. So what leaps out of the glass on this one is vanilla buttercream. Vanilla buttercream for days upon days. Then underneath that buttercream is a layer of white cake. So essentially, go to Costco, get one of their white cakes that has that layer of buttercream in the middle, and that is what you're going to be getting here on this nose. Let's get into the palate. Woo! That was one heck of a first sip there. First sip of the day, and I'm jumping into a 131 proof, which I'm just now realizing off of that. But up front, oh my gosh, so rich, so oily, absolutely beautiful mouthfeel. And the sweetness takes over almost immediately. Think about that cake. That cake comes shining through on the palate. Though there is quite a bit of barrel influence on this as well, giving a little bit of oak on the sides of the tongue. Now, by the time we hit mid-palate, I continue to come up with this note, though others haven't agreed with me quite yet on it. But I essentially get what I would describe as an upside-down pineapple cake. Now, I'm not talking about fresh pineapple from a tropical citrus perspective, but more of that baked-in pineapple within the cake batter. And then once again, smothered all over the top with that white cream, that good frosting. The other thing that I've been getting more and more, and it's the influence of that American single malt cask, but I have started to get a little bit of chocolate almost a Hershey chocolate syrup over the top of all of that. And that is a flavor characteristic I associate with the American single malt coming from Old Line as well. Let's get into the finish. On the finish, more of those barrel tannins come into play. That 10 years begins to be better pronounced within the flavor profile. And it really balances everything out from being overly sweet, because initially sweetness is going to be over the top. But man, having that barrel influence does pay off at the end. So very happy to add this barrel to the collection of Hello Again Whiskey Friend picks. This was another collaboration pick. Shout out to Big Vic for setting this one up and inviting us along. Also, Dusty Dan and Drifting Drams were on here too. Now, this one did sell out almost immediately. It was a short barrel too, which might explain some of the richness in this. But if you are interested in what I'm describing, I have had other Case One Rums and gotten very similar experiences from them. So you can go back to that website and maybe check out some yourself if you're interested. And for anyone who may be a skeptic of rum too, I think the place to start, Foursquare rums, absolutely delicious. You can identify those a lot because they're coming out of Barbados and they do source quite a bit. So you'll find other brands having single barrels of Foursquare in addition to Foursquare in and of itself. Now, what we equate rum to, especially if it's been aged in an ex-bourbon cask for a very long time, is essentially just like a light whiskey. The mash bill on a light whiskey is predominantly corn, whereas this one is predominantly cane sugar. So in general, the profiles do match quite a bit, bringing that over-the-top sweetness and then getting some of that barrel influence, depending on how long it was aged in there. And when it was ex-bourbon casks, it's getting that same influence just as a light whiskey will, which is also aged in used barrels. So if you do like light whiskey, consider giving rum a chance. And once again, our favorites are Foursquare and now this Case One Rum. If you have any other questions about this pick, this rum, or anything about this video whatsoever, let us know in the comments if you got your hands on this pick. Also, shout from the rooftop. Let people know how good it is. And just remember, everybody, while you can always find more whiskey and other spirits, you can never have enough whiskey friends. So take care of those around you, and we'll catch you on the next one. Goodbye, everybody.